Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another edition of Ditch Witch Diaries. This time, we are talking about the tarot, and we are talking about the lovers. So buckle in because this one is going to blow your mind. There's so much exciting stuff to talk about and such a new perspective. So let's just get cooking, good looking. And here we are, the lovers, our little Art Nouveau picture. And I can tell you that they should be naked. So there you go. So what are the origins and evolution of the lovers? Because this is different than some of our other cards. Some cards have very drastically different origins than what we see in the tarot today. Some are the same all the way through. And then some of these, like the lovers, is a bit more subtle, but it gives a lot of insight into the card. So let's just look at what's going on. So first of all, it's called L'amour or L'amoureux. L'amoureux. Obviously, I'm not a French speaker. But the idea behind these two names is that originally, and for most of the time period when the lovers card was out and about, it was not called the lovers. It was either called love, l'amour, or the other word that I struggle to pronounce is a male lover. In particular, a male lover. And this is very important with the cards and what they're going to look like. So the first love card we see is around 1441, and we see a lot of this. The Viscontis are very important in the inception of tarot, and this first tarot, we see the pictures actually being drawn from imagery of things that were really happening in the world at that time, and this card is no different. The origins of the love card, and it was love, was made for the marriage of Bianca Maria Visconti to Duke of Milan, Francesco Sforza, who would later be Duke of Milan. Oh, well, he would later be Duke of Milan. There you go. He wasn't Duke of Milan yet, but he would be later. Many of these older cards showed an image of an aristocratic wedding. So this is one of the common themes for early tarot card lovers. Okay, so in the Marseille deck from 1639, we see a different image. We see two women fighting over one man. And this image we see revolved around quite a few times. We're going to talk much more about that. Okay, sometimes though, they take it and they have one man who's being fought over by a woman and a king. So that's another kind of imagery that we see here in this card. So one thing that is fairly consistent though is that Cupid or Eros is there at the top, as you know, and he is usually shooting an arrow, and in a lot of the old cards, he is shooting it directly at the woman. And this is an interesting thing because it's like the male lover trying to either capture or get the female lover or decide between love, right? So then we move a little bit further to Eliphas Levi, and his L'Amoureux card, which is the male lover card, shows a man deciding between a good and a bad woman. So it's not just two women now, it's sin versus virtue, and Cupid is pointing the arrow directly down at him, in fact, which lame. Okay, like this totally should blow your mind about the lovers card. Okay, this is the male lover. This is love, and definitely it has a male perspective from its inception. Okay, so, and deciding between, we're going to talk more about what that might mean, but a good and a bad woman, it's layers of shaking my head. So the finally, we move into the Golden Dawn, and the Golden Dawn changes the name to the Lovers. So that's where we finally get the origin of the Rider-Waite-Smith card, the Lovers. It went through all that little transformation. So let's look at some of these cards, right? Okay, so look, here we go. We have, again, if this is much more like levies, right? This is actually a wood block one. Some of these ones are wood block ones, and they were made for common usage, and they were they're not so special, right? They were available more. So this is another one where we see a man being like fought over by, I don't even know what, an aristocratic wedding. And here's another one, the king and the woman. And here we have Cupid firing directly at the woman. And here again, we have the man with two women. I don't know what that is. Again, another one, the man with two women and the Cupid's shooting straight down at the man. There's a wood block one, and now we see just a man and a woman, but the arrow is firing at the woman, and it's another wood block, in case I didn't say that already. This one specifically is the good woman versus the bad woman. So we're going to see like what that means or what that implies. And this is the one where Cupid's, again, firing right down at the man, so that ostensibly so that he can make a decision between good and bad, virtue, vice, right? So the Lovers is number 6 in the count. So we're at the 6th major arcana card here. So this 6 is considered by many to be the first perfect number because its first 3 constituent parts add up to 6. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. And it also can be broken down in so many perfect ways, right? To some, it's considered the number of completion. So if you subscribe to the biblical account of things, which maybe we should just, even if you don't, suspend disbelief a little bit, because this card we're going to see is very much tied to biblical accounts, especially the Rider-Waite-Smith version. So if you subscribe to the biblical account of things, some people like to say that God finished making the earth at day 6. So he was complete, and then he rested on day 7. So some people say 7 is the number of completion. Some say 6. We also know that there's this 6-pointed star, right? And it has, usually it's depicted as having one triangle up and then one triangle facing down. The upper arrow is said to point to Eros or heaven, and then the lower is said to point to earth. It's the star of human destiny. It's a symbol of King Solomon and Vishnu, and it represents the sacred marriage of Shiva and Shakti. It's a number that's strongly influenced by Venus, which is kind of funny. So love, Venus, all that good stuff. It is a number of home, security, balance. It's considered the mother of numbers. And it's the embodiment of heart, which kind of, it lulls us a little bit into almost like a false sense of belief with this card, because even though there's something about the embodiment of the heart and love here, we're going to see it has a very different set of meanings from the beginning to the end. We already looked at it. This card was not about the lovers from the beginning. It was about love, and specifically love from a male perspective. So the correspondences. It's Arabic number 6. The Roman number is V1. The Roman titles, and so we see this, and gosh, should I torture you again with l'amoro, l'amor, gli amante, and gli innamorati. The Hermetic title was Children of the Divine Voice, which is this right here, this picture that you see. I'm sorry, Children of the Voice Divine, or the Oracle of the Mighty Gods. The planet associated with it is Gemini. two twins, interestingly enough. The Hebrew letter is Zayin, which you see there, and the equivalent in the English letters is Z. So the animals are magpies and all hybrids. How odd. Okay. The planet is nut trees or orchids, bending vervain, lavender, and wormwood. The incense is mastic and bergamot. The rock and metal is agate, emerald, topaz, tourmaline, calcite, rose quartz, and alexandrite. And you see a lot of those. Some of them are green and some of them are pink. And then we've got that tourmaline, especially the watermelon tourmaline that goes from green to pink. And if you don't know what alexandrite is a very expensive stone that is almost exclusively found in Russia, and it turns color in the light. So it's it's photosensitive anyway. So, and I think it's the way we see it in light anyway. So the color that's associated with it is reddish gray, inclined to mauve or orange. And let's dig into this Rider-Waite symbology because, wow, just like take a look at that card. That card is so different from the other cards, and it's so special because it is so different. So let's look at what's important about it. First of all, the sun. The sun is a bright, broad sun that shines its bright light on everything. There's nothing hidden, right? It shines its light on opposition. Things are now perceived based on its opposite, though. So that's also with the Gemini contingency there as well. So what that means is that, like, you don't know light unless you have darkness. You don't know what the good life is unless you've lived the bad, like something horrible. It's like hard to understand something without having perceived the opposite of it. That's the idea. So the angel Raphael that's supposed to be the angel Raphael. And he is protecting the people from the blazes of this penetrating sun and penetrating light of perception. He is about transcendence and protection, obviously, healing, reconciliation. And he's really the angel of love and joy. Now, those trees, we have two trees on either side. So that, again, is going to reiterate this columnar kind of idea that we've been toying around with, is that when you see these columns on this Rider-Waite-Smith, these cards, it's really that idea that you have to walk through that place, that these are places that you must pass. And this is no different. These trees are going to form these same columns. And archetypally, especially a man, okay, we're going to see why, needs to pass through this. Okay, this is a huge thing. And so we are now, though, passing through Eden, okay, because these are trees of the Garden of Eden. And this is an explicit reference. So it also, these trees also, that there's a balance of body and mind that some people say it represents body and mind, but really they represent something very specific. Okay, so you can say it's body and mind, but so if you look at the tree that's next to Eve, okay, you see the fruit and the snake. This is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, the tree where the snake tempted Eve and she partake of the fruit. And you see the fruit there, right? So what does the snake represent? Sometimes temptation. I think it's knowledge, okay? Because I mean, there is a lie that if you eat, you will not die, but you will know. Okay, so there is temptation there, but there's knowledge in that, because as soon as they partook of the fruit, their eyes were opened. They had knowledge, and we see that they haven't yet. They don't have that knowledge yet, and I'll tell you why. So then we look to the tree on the right. And this is the tree of life, right? It has 12 flames, which supposedly represent the 12 zodiac signs, passions of passion of will. Okay, and that mountain is a singular mountain. And sometimes the mountains are there to show us the arduous journey that we have to take. And although this is like this mountain though is more like a meeting of the two, a single mountain that becomes a resolution of Adam and Eve, a resolution of the male and the female. This mountain has been called the orgasm of union. And then we get to our lovers. The lovers, Adam and Eve. And we're going to talk way more about Adam and Eve. But if Adam doesn't watch out, he's liable to get burned. And if Eve doesn't watch out, she's liable to get tricked, right? So it says something here. So before we go on to all that stuff, let's just break it down a little bit through Jung. Okay, and remember, Jung didn't say much about the tarot, but he talks a lot about archetypes, and we are in the major arcana, which is the whole thing is archetypal. So there's a lot of kind of interesting things that we can dig out from Jung's perspective, right? So first of all, this is the way for the male. What does this mean? First of all, because it was the male lover card, it's not a huge jump to go there. So for Jung, this path about male love, or what is even happening with the two women there, is the path by which males, like, they sever that umbilical cord with their mother. Okay, the homespun garment is finally removed and put away. It's only through this card that, like, you take off that garment. And if a male doesn't remove this homespun garment, he is burdened by eternal mother complexes. So the mother so we've been kind of relating this to the myth of Parsifal the whole time and the Fisher King, right? And the mother, Heart Sorrow, she will do anything to keep her son loyal. And so this card, though, is about severing that, about the son leaving his mother finally. Really, the female lover, who this isn't a card about the female lover, it really wasn't from the beginning. It was about the male lover. And this is the way for the male, who this woman, or the symbol of the woman, becomes a savior in the hero's journey, in this journey of Parsifal. This is and you know what? I'm not exactly excited, but we see it all over in our culture. This idea of Blanche Fleur, or so we see Blanche Fleur as being the way that the male is rescued because he gets to take off his mother complex, right? But it's really, she's a savior to the hero. And it's not her that's a savior. What is the saving piece is the task of rescuing her, which is even a little more head shake-a-poo, is so like we can think of things like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White. That like perfectly exemplifies what's going on here. The man is made a full man and a full hero, and he rescues the kingdom when he takes off the homespun garment and he rescues the woman. And we see that not only is this a card about choosing between the mom and the mother, or the mother and the woman, but it's also a card about a male choosing between sin and virtue. And so oftentimes we see that women are pigeonholed into these images of Madonna and whore. And this is no different, or even Lilith, right? And this is no different. This card is like the beacon of that dichotomy, okay? It's the beacon of like women being broken down into her constituent parts so that we can put her in this schema, right? So in some instances, we see Eve versus, well, Lilith really isn't mentioned in here, but it's implied. Whenever we see Eve, we can imply Lilith, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Sin versus virtue, the mother versus the woman. These are kind of the archetypal implications embedded in the male love card, or just love, and then later the lovers. So again, this is the power over, okay? It's that triangle that we've been talking about for so long. And this is one of the obvious triangular cards. I mean, we're going to go back and look at this. Okay, you can even look with the angel and then the lovers, they form a triangle, right? So the angel to Eve to Adam back up to the angel. That is a perfect triangle. And we're going to see this again. Where are we going to see it again? The devil card. We saw it before, where the Hierophant card, and less obviously because there isn't any people, because he's kind of the lord over the land. Well, the high ruler over the land, and he kind of competes with the Pope, but it is embedded in the Emperor card as well. So we know all about this power structure, and I have belabored it and belabored it and belabored it. And hopefully we can move on from this until the devil crops up, and then we'll talk about it again. But this power structure, this card originally is about the male lover, his choices, his journey. Okay, as such, this card is another card that shows this patriarchal power structure. It's a card of pure power over. Okay, so take it however you want, but I can tell you right now that this plants you firmly in a position where the male is almost invariably in our culture going to have power over the female. That's just, and it's implied. And even if so you're like, not me, my CEO is a woman, right? That doesn't matter, because guess what? CEO is a triangular power structure. There's one CEO, two people underneath that, three people underneath that, the whole thing, and all the workers at the bottom. It is a perfect triangle. Okay, that it exemplifies that. So it really makes no difference like where like one woman is in particular in this triangle. The triangle exists, and this triangular power of power over, it subjugates people, because everybody is subjugated to the one above him, and we're all subjugated to the one at the top, right? So in this schema, we are all these atomized parts in the male pursuit towards what? This whole thing we've been seeing with these men, right? Towards power, towards self-actualization, ego, winning, money, whatever you do at the what's at the top for you? What's at that top of that pinnacle structure? What if you kept having power over another person, and then were promoted in some way, even if it's not your job? Let's say like in any in any structure where you're just, okay. And we saw that the female in these cards is immediately broken down into her constituent parts that are kind of like clown parts, right? Madonna and whore. Those are like, or the sinful woman versus the virtuous woman, right? Otherwise, in other cards, like this man is shown as like even supreme, right? And the Hierophant and the which is the Pope and the Emperor, they're like the head of the whole world, okay? They're the head on earth, Okay, so that's what every thing is pointing to, that one hill up at top. And we saw it again with the mountain, even in this. It's like this triangle just can't escape us. And these, like the emperor and the hierophant, are both in the business of becoming the supreme being on this earth, the supreme emperor, the supreme hierophant, in this case, the supreme male lover. Okay, so then we look at the devil. So it is connected to the devil card. It looks like the devil card. It is very, if you put them side by side, they look alike. And I didn't do that, but I probably will with the devil once we look back. So, and I'll just give you a little snippet about the devil card. The devil is the ultimate descriptor of this triangular power structure. So when we are involved heavily and our hearts are involved in this triangular power structure, the devil card is at play. Okay, we're hopelessly chained to the person above us. 9 times out of 10, we don't even know it. We're just like blissfully underneath people all the time. We're not in circular unity, and we don't equally contribute. We don't live in an egalitarian world, right? Okay. So how does this relate to the similarity with the lovers or love and the male lover? Well, if we were to cultivate the lovers card, where is this power structure? Is it circular? Okay. No. Okay. We see it all over this card that is not the way it is. Okay. And it wouldn't be in earlier times, because it wasn't until what? I'm watching a show right now where a woman can't sell a damn car without the signature of her husband in like the 50s. Like, come on. Like that shows you the order, the structure, the order of importance, who's under who, right? And what so when I was growing up, I lived in a home where there was a big poster on our wall that talked about the power of God, and the power of God flowed down from God. And I was LDS, so which is Mormon. So it flowed down from God to Jesus, to the prophet, the male prophet, to the male stake president, or the male the people right under the male prophet, which were also male, to the male stake president, to the male bishop, to the father, and finally we get to a woman, right? Finally we get to the woman, to the mother, and then she has dispensation or authority over the children, right? So we can see that it's made explicit in many religions. It's made explicit in corporations, but that's how our culture works. Okay. So then Adam and Eve. So that little piece, and then this piece, get ready, folks. Okay. Because Rider-Waite-Smith, they specifically allude to Adam and Eve. Okay. This is an obvious reference to the Garden of Eden, and how special we may think, oh, this is so special. The first lovers, Adam and Eve. It's like perfect, right? They were the first ones, right? So no. Let's revisit this story about Adam and Eve. Okay, this is not a story of equality, because the story of the circular possibility of power was ended with Lilith. Okay, there's 2 creation stories, in case you didn't realize that. And the first Eve, who was Lilith, they say, she was created, Adam and Eve were both created from mud. And so they were both created out of the earth. Okay, so that would make them both their own person, both unique from the earth, both of the same material, but very different and very much their own person, right? But that's not the story, because Lilith wanted to have equality with Adam, and he wouldn't have that. So he told God to get rid of her, right? No round power structure for me. Oh no, folks. We are going to we're in the world of the triangle, right? And Eve was created from a piece of Adam. She is not her own person. She is not whole. She is not unique. She is not created from the earth. She is under and subject to Adam always, because she's a part of him. She's just a part of his rib. She's not even half. It's not like God cleaved Adam in half like the twins and broke them in half and made, no way. He took a rib and no. Okay. So that's the first thing that I want you to remember in this whole thing. The second thing is this vision we see before us is a vision of Adam and Eve before they ate the apple. Okay, not after, before. Okay, how do we know this? Well, they're naked. Okay, because what happened when they ate the apple? Well, I'll tell you what happened. They had knowledge and they realized that they were naked. They became human. They had a brain to think. They became fully human and full of knowledge. And they covered themselves with fig leaves. So we know that these two, after they became fully human and fully aware, they weren't allowed to stay in this garden any longer. The two that you see before you are innocent fools. And so how long do you think that these innocent fools bumbled around the Garden of Eden before Eve, tired of like God's admonition and Adam's warnings? The faith of my childhood is a long time. Okay, then, okay, also remember, because this has foreboding in it, right? This card has foreshadowing, because we all know the story. We know what's going to happen. Okay, nothing is Adam's fault, right? It's my rib that did it. We know what happens. The devil tempts, Eve eats, then Adam eats, then Adam blames it all on Eve, right? So then the woman receives this horrible cursing of pain in childbirth and periods, ostensibly. And then they get screwed because they both get kicked out of this beautiful garden into the harsh world, right? So just remember where we stand in this card. We stand not with knowledge. We are totally without knowledge. We don't even know we're naked. We're like animals. We're like, anyway, so with all that information under our belt, let's take a little break and look at the varieties for a moment to give ourselves some time to think and tie this all together. I'll give you some moments. So first, the Tarot of the New Vision. And of course, this looks backward, and it's looking at, I love this because it's looking out into the garden, perhaps, and we see all the animals out there. And remember, that was another thing that Adam got the benefit of doing, right? He named all those animals, right? He had the power of naming, right? So much power for Adam and so much blame, right? So then the Herb Crafter's Tarot is Hawthorn. And I'll tell you this really, the Herb Crafter's Tarot, I want to take it as something different, because a lot of these cards have been the tarot how we want it to be now, which I like, right? This like, a lot of these cards are like, if I wanted the tarot lovers to be what it would be these two hoops interchanging, perfect equality of people coming together, a meeting, a love meeting, right? That's what we want it to be, right? We really want it there. And Hawthorn is the perfect one. It's an herb of the heart, right? So that would be, and a lot of the Herb Crafter's Tarot she reinterprets the tarot how we want it to be, which, you know, I like that in a way, but it's not Rider-Waite Smith, but it's kind of like how we want the tarot to be. You know, we want the lovers to mean that. But if we look at the symbology and the history, Okay, the modern witch tarot is they do an interesting thing. They have the lovers facing, and they still keep Adam and Eve, which is really interesting. And how do we know? Even though they, I don't know. I thought it was mostly women, but they keep the snake with the tree of good and evil, knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life there with the flames. So we still have some of the same imagery there. Same Adam and Eve kind of idea. Here, the Spellcasters Tarot, they do that too. They change it to what we want it to be, right? This is what we want. We want this meeting of two people, this hand fasting. It looks like they're doing a hand fasting where they tied some cords, and a marriage, and with the rainbow even around it, which so. And then the Hanson Roberts. I think they kind of do a little bit of the both. They certainly take away the image of Adam and Eve. So we lose that completely. And they do try to unify the lovers and make them together. And they even, in some way, they do keep this idea of woman as savior. And I think it's interesting how they depict, like, is that the fool, or who is that who is the man there? Because we see that he still has his homespun garment on. So that's part of the male lover journey, is to remove that homespun garment, right? So interesting card. So let's just put this whole thing together. And we're going to put unfortunately, or fortunately, it's just not the card that we usually like to think it is. We like to want to believe it is. Every time I talk to somebody about what the Lover's card means, they forward the meaning that we see, like maybe in the Herb Crafter's Tarot, or the Spell Crafter's Tarot. They forward that meaning, right, of the union, the meeting, which, okay, but that's not what Rider-Waite-Smith symbology gives us at all, or history. So let's put it all together. So first of all, the lovers have very little to do with your love life or love in general, as you may understand it as this circular thing, power structure, and two people coming together in equality. Okay, this card is within the bounds of a larger series of power over cards that culminates in the Devil. This is about the male lover, his perspective. Okay, and it's about the male lover as part of the power structure. Okay, as Adam, always above the woman. Okay, she is quite literally not even a real whole person in this card. She's merely a rib grown big. Okay, this card defines her, though, even as not a whole person, as just like an icon, Madonna whore. It also pits her as savior, right? In the most Blanche Florian sense, right? This card is about how our heart and emotions play out in this power structure, how it works relationally between men and women in this power structure. And at any rate, it's not even real mature love. Okay, even if you want to say, oh, I don't like that, I'm still going to interpret it as love and whatever. Go right ahead, but it's still Adam and Eve before they ate the apple, okay? It doesn't matter what you say. That's the image we are given in Rider-Waite-Smith, okay? We're given the image of Adam and Eve before they ate the apple, which means the love is untried, untested, immature, and it's filled with impending blame, pain, doom. This card, even if you say you don't like this power over, you don't like this structure, you don't like that they're tied like the devil, okay, that's fine. It should still be a very ominous card, okay? Because we know how this story plays out, okay? If you want a real love connection card, if you're looking for a card that bespeaks love connection, first of all, you want to get out of the archetypal path, which is, we're talking in archetypes in the major arcana. Okay, so if you want to be in the minor arcana for stuff that's happening in real life, right now, feet on the ground. And to that, I would look at the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is one of my favorite new love, a real love connection card. Okay, this card is something different. It's something archetypal and not about that. So if you pull a lover's card, okay, you should be thinking, where is my love immature? Where am I chained in love to an immature type of love that has its blinders on, that doesn't know what's going to happen? Okay? Whether you're male or female, this card bodes of that patriarchal structure with the man on top, but it's a new love, a new, maybe exciting love, but it's going to be within this structure, right? This patriarchal structure. Is there new love on the horizon? Perhaps. But it's going to be untested, untried. This is what this card is. And perhaps it has laced in it this idea that the man isn't viewing you as a whole person, that the man is viewing you as just an accessory, a part of him, something to choose between. You're just an option. You're just a Madonna or a whore. You're just sin or virtue, right? You're just his rib, okay? If you get this card, you better wait it out, okay? It may look all fresh and hitched up in the garden, right? But will it mature into the Two of Cups? Even because the Two of Cups is a much more like unified meeting together, right? Meeting of the hearts. Is it going to mature, and is it going to be that, or is it going to be much more like the devil? This card kind of tells you that this is kind of going in that devilish direction. And that's the kind of energy that's around, right? This energy of immature, untried, untested. Okay, so what happens if you get this card reversed? Okay, so this is the idea that all those untried, giddy, exciting, Adam and Eve before the apple feelings, okay, you may have them in your head, okay? But it's not a clear thought. It's all twisted up, right? In reality, there may be one of two things that are happening. One, either you're making up this whole thing in your head. You're all excited and giddy about something that's like untried, untested, new, Adam and Eve before the apple. I don't even know what it is, but there's nothing there. There's no real relationship, okay? You're just dreaming of exciting love that's not there, okay? Or the other option is that you are really in an egalitarian, awesome, good relationship. Your partner is interested in mutual respect and understanding and caring, wants to be part of a circular relationship, not a triangular one. Okay, they're slow and steady, stable, okay? And you're all spun up in your head, right? You're all like giddy and excited. And okay, you could blow this. Okay, by you could, this whole thing, if you keep spinning around your head, you're going to make yourself miserable and you could end up ruining your relationship. Okay, so it would be a warning to get out of your head and really rearrange your thinking about this relationship, if there is a relationship at all, right? So these are my sources right now, and let me just exit here and get right back to you. And I hope you got something from the Lovers and kind of my interpretation of the Lovers, and I hope I gave you some kind of new ideas to think about, because when I started digging into this, a long time ago, like it's like the scales were removed from my eyes. It's like I ate the apple, so to speak, right? I'm all blurry. There we go. So I hope you got something from this, and I can't wait to see all your new interpretations on the Lovers. I will see you at the next Ditch Witch Diaries.